Is it good enough now, Heath? Is it coming clearly? Is it coming clearly? That's more important than anything else. Yes, okay, good enough. Okay, now my dear friends, let's start with self-assessment. Okay, so this is the assessment part that we are taking into consideration, right? Okay. Now, when it comes to assessment part, my dear friends, understand the first thing that we're talking about is self-assessment. Okay. Now, self-assessment is very simple. This is the process that happens in both income tax and GST, where you as a taxpayer self-assess your outward supplies, inward supplies, output tax, ITC, and finally pay the tax, that is net tax payable, through the e-cash ledger. Okay. And give your entire hisab kitab, give your entire accounting in the return which you furnish under section 39, which is GSTR 3B for normal taxpayer and 4 for compo taxpayer. Take it. Now, section 60, my dear friends, provisional assessment. So understand that you have entered into a transaction, but you for some reason do not know what value should I determine, or what is the rate of tax applicable to this transaction. Now, what happens to this, right? Because you are only confused about either the value or rate, and it's very important that you have clarity with respect to both of this, right? If you want to determine the tax liability, you need to have clarity of both of these aspects. Now, if you are unclear about either of them, then you make a request to proper officer to assess this provisionally, okay, for you. So you have given the job that you were supposed to self-assess, but since you are unclear, you are seeking clarity from proper officer and asking them to provisionally assess tax for you, and then later there will be final assessment, and whatever is, okay, the consequence, you will have to bear it. If you are, let's say if your provisional assessment was at, let's say for example your final assessment is higher than provisional assessment, then you will have to pay tax with interest, and if it is lower, then you will get the amount refunded, right, with interest in case interest is applicable. So while you have to pay 18%, while you have to receive, you will receive it at 6%. Okay. Now, proper officer clearly on the receipt of your application, okay, issue a provisional assessment order allowing the said person to pay tax provisionally, right, where clearly in the order, okay, it will be indicated at what value will you have to pay tax, at what rate will you have to pay tax, right, and at the same time you have to, okay, furnish bond, okay, and security. Okay, the security value has to be, my dear friends, greater than or equal to 25% of the furnished amount and bond. Okay, and the furnished amount and bond will be nothing but, okay, nothing but, my dear friends, the difference between FA and PA. Yes. So for example, if the value of supply is sorted that it is 10 lakhs, but the rate has confusion, let's say final is 28% and provisionally it was 18, because the rate issue is 18 or 28, what is the rate applicable to you? So in provisional assessment it was assessed at 18, but in final assessment it is assessed at a higher rate, that is 28. Then here the difference comes out to be 10%, and which is why 10 lakh ka 10% is 1 lakh, and which is why in that case when I say 1 lakh, तो 1 lakh का 25% का bond होना चाहिए आपका. Okay, so 1 lakh is understand, okay, the bond amount, and 25,000 is the security amount, right? Perfect. Security is generally a bank guarantee, correct? Yes. So a bond is basically a promise that I will pay this 1 lakh rupees if tomorrow the final assessment is at a higher value or rate. And security is basically that if I don't execute my promise, if I don't deliver on my promise, at least 25% of that is guaranteed and the bank will be taken care of. Okay, correct. What is the time limit to pass PO order? 90 days from the date of application. So whenever you've applied for a PA, within 90 days you will get the PA order, right? Generally you will get in that month itself, right? And now, in how many days will you finally get the FA order? Very simple. Okay, either within 6 months from the date of communication of P order. Understand, date of communication of P order is very important, because only when it is communicated to me can the calculation start from that. Okay, so within 6 months. Okay, is there any extension required? Yes. Okay, that extension can be done by, okay, just a small mistake my dear friends, by joint commissioner or additional commissioner. 4 years. I'm so sorry. Yeah, 6 months यहाँ पे लिखा है, sorry. So 6 months is the normal time limit. If there is extension, yes, joint commissioner or additional commissioner can definitely give you an extension, another 6 months, and commissioner can give you an extension of 4 years. So total 5 years. Within 5 years FA order can be passed, right? Generally itna deri nahi hota, it is not that late, so don't worry about it. Okay, correct. Now my dear friends, when I talk about FA order has two possibilities. Either it can be more than PA, either it can be less than PA. If it is more, there is interest at the rate 18% here, and there is interest at the rate 6% here. But here understand, from where will the interest start getting calculated? So the date when the differential amount was originally due up to the actual date, this is the number of delayed days that you will calculate. But here in this case my dear friends, okay, day after the expiry of 60 days from the date of receipt of refund. So whenever, okay, there is date of receipt of refund application, okay, within 60 days of that, okay, within 60 days of that, understand my dear friends, okay, you will start your calculation. So from 61st day you will actually start your calculation, okay, up to the date of grant of refund, that is the number of days, right? So here understand, if April was the month where you actually did the supply and you did not know the value, so you did an application of provisional assessment. So you applied on 1st of April and you got the reply on 4th of April. Okay, and accordingly whatever the value was given, you have paid on 20th May itself. Now understand, that value came out to be lesser, because in FA order a higher value was being assessed. Then understand, from 21st May itself, because understand, the value was just that 10 lakhs in PA, and the value which was supposed to be assessed in FA was 15. So the 5 lakh on which you have paid lesser amount, you will start calculating interest from 21st of May up to the date of actual date of payment. Is that very clear? Perfect. That's it. बस इतना बोलना चाहता था, और कुछ नहीं, कुछ भी नहीं, ठीक है? That's it my dear friends. Okay. Next is section 61, scrutiny of returns. Understand that PO shall verify the correctness of the return with respect to the available information. If discrepancies are found, PO shall issue notice and person shall give necessary explanation with 30 days of service of notice. Okay. So आज if there are any discrepancies found, PO shall issue notice, and person shall give necessary explanation within 30 days of such notice, right? If there is satisfactory explanation by registered person, no action will be given or taken by the proper officer. Just inform the registered person that the proceedings have been dropped, right? We are not moving ahead. But if the discrepancies has been accepted by the registered person, right, pay the tax and interest and inform the proper officer about payment of such tax. Very simple. Understand, now either you have not given a satisfactory reply, right, or the discrepancies, either you have not accepted the discrepancies, or if the discrepancies are accepted but the action of payment of tax is not taken, right? So either you don't accept the discrepancies, or you accept it but you don't take the action, so eventually you have done nothing. Then in that case, okay, moving ahead, proper officer will now take the action. Proper officer says that, listen boss, I will now go ahead with either GST audit, special audit, inspection, search and seizure, या फिर okay, I will directly start with demand and recovery under 73, 74. Very, very, very simple. Okay, so make sure that you are well aware of this. Scrutiny of returns mean you filed the return, now they've scrutinized, there is a discrepancy, okay, understand, they will send you a notice of scrutiny. Within 30 days you have to reply. Now either you give a satisfactory reply, fair enough, they will inform you about the same. Either you accept the discrepancies and you pay tax, matter ends, or you don't accept the discrepancy, or you accept it but you don't take the action of paying tax. Now if you fall under the third category, simple, directly audit हो जाएगा, audit, special audit, inspection, search and seizure, or they will directly resort to demand and recovery. So the choice is yours. Clearly you will be responsible for what you do. Is that very clear, MS? Is that very clear, Heath, Rakshit, Smith? Makes sense. Okay, next, section 62, assessment of non-filers of return. Understand now. So obviously you are supposed to file returns within a specific due date, right? But if you don't file returns, understand, okay, especially under which section? Section 39, that is your 3B, 4, 5, 45 final returns. Okay, and even after the service of notice of section 46, you do not reply within 15 days. So you did not file the return, you were sent a notice, a reminder notice to file the return within 15 days, but you did not take any action within 15 days, and now the matter has gone out of your hands. Now your matter, since you did not assess it, will be assessed by proper officer as per his best judgment. As per his best judgment. Very simple. Okay, now अभी उसके हाथ में क्या आपकी कमान है, वो जो बोलेगा आपको मानना पड़ेगा. सिंपल. Whatever he will say, you will have to ensure that it is taken care of, because when the matters were in your hand, you did not take any action. Now it is in his, he will use his best judgment and do whatever he wants to do. Okay, now there is only one way you can salvage this situation, and that is, okay, whenever the best judgment assessment order is passed within 30 days, okay, file an application of withdrawing the best judgment assessment order, right? Within how many days? 30 days of service of the order. If you do that, okay, and you furnish a valid return within those 30 days, you clearly have made good to what bad you have done, and automatically in that case it will be withdrawn. So you do good to the bad what you had done. Simple. So within 30 days of BGA, very simple, all you have to do is file the returns, because that was the very reason why best judgment assessment order was issued. Now if you are filing your valid returns within 30 days, it's done. BGA shall stand withdrawn, right? Now understand that when I talk about the time limit within which the best judgment assessment order will be passed, it is 5 years from the due date of the annual return for the financial year to which the tax not paid relates. So what does that mean? That only means that, for example, if you have not filed returns for the month of April to September 2023, Then understand which is the next financial year, 24-25. When is the annual return you file for it? 31st December 2024. Calculate 5 years from here, 31/12/2029. So best judgment assessment order for this period can be issued up till this date. That's the kind of longevity that they are actually extending in cases where you have not filed returns. Got it? Yes, that's it. Acha, unregistered person ka best judgment assessment. Now understand one thing. Initially you are an unregistered person or a registered person. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Initially you are a registered person. My bad. Okay, who was not filing returns. Right? You were given a reminder notice. You did not file within 15 days. BGA came. Here you are an unregistered person altogether. So you are liable to register but you did not register. You are liable to register but you did not register. Very simple. Okay. In this case, all government says is that if the assessee fails to obtain registration or his RC is cancelled under 29(2) by proper officer. Okay, proper officer shall issue a notice, show cause notice, and give him time or 15 days to reply. And only then an order and a summary thereof shall be uploaded electronically. Simple. What is the time limit of the order? Within 5 years from the due date of annual return for which the tax not paid relates to. Okay? So the time limit is exactly the same for year 63 and 62. Simple. And the last is, my dear friends, summary assessment. So when the proper officer has evidences showing tax liability of a person and any delay in action will adversely affect the interest of the revenue, then he shall definitely go ahead and pass summary assessment order with the prior approval of additional commissioner or joint commissioner. Okay, the summary assessment order can be withdrawn by additional or joint commissioner if on the application by the taxable person for withdrawal of summary within 30 days from the date of receipt of order. So if within 30 days he applies for withdrawal of such order, okay, or either on his own motion where he finds that such order was erroneous and may instead follow the procedures of 73-74. So there are two ways: either the person on whom the summary assessment order is issued, that person applies for withdrawal application within 30 days, or ACJC themselves feels that it is erroneous and it's better, rather than issuing an order, let's go ahead and follow the procedures of 73-74 where we first issue show cause and then issue an order. Simple. Let's focus on that. Okay. Also, who is a deemed taxable person? If a person is not ascertainable and such liability of a person to supply goods, then the person in charge shall be liable to be assessed. So definitely, my dear friends, especially in case of transit, right? The goods are being taken care of. The goods are actually traveling in the truck. And when asked whose goods they belong to, the truck owner says, I don't know. Because he does not even have the bill, or he does not have invoice, delivery challan, bill of supply, nothing doing. And when asked from where did he load the goods and where did he unload, where he is supposed to unload it, and he keeps mum, understand, he will be deemed considered as the person in charge of goods. And all the liabilities with respect to goods will be applicable to him. Got that? Yes. Okay. So that's it, my dear friends. That is with respect to self-assessment. Okay. Perfect. Acha. I'll just quickly go through the entire audit part once, since the voice wasn't that audible. I'll just quickly go through it again, guys. Okay. So when it comes to audit, understand there is audit by tax authorities and there is special audit. When it comes to audit by tax authorities, very simple. It is initiated by whom? Commissioner. right, or any officer authorized by him. Place of audit, it is generally, okay, very simple, the registered place of business or in their office, okay, for a financial year or part thereof. Notice period, so before coming they will send a notice, okay, so before the commencement of the audit they will send a notice at least 15 days prior to starting the audit, right, that we are coming to audit your books of accounts, so be prepared. What is the commencement of audit date? Very simple, either the date on which the records or accounts are called by the audit authorities, or the actual institution of audit at the place of business of the auditee, whichever is later. Ensure that you remember this. Okay, the other time when we saw was actually in final return, date of cancellation or date of cancellation order, whichever is later. Next, what is the time limit to do audit? Is it perpetual, infinity? No, it is 3 months from the date of conduct of audit. Is there extension allowed? Yes, with the help of commissioner you can take extension if there are sufficient grounds. How many? Not more than 6 months. How to conduct the audit? Very simple. Proper officer has to conduct the audit. He shall verify the document on the basis of which books of accounts are maintained. Are those proofs fake or genuine? The returns and the statements furnished, the rate of tax of supply, the correctness of turnover, exemptions that you have taken, the ITC, whether it's wrongly availed or utilized, or the refund claimed. At the time of finalization of audit, make sure that the proper officer informs the registered person about the findings of the audit within 30 days. And on conclusion, if they find that there is any detection of tax not paid, short paid, ITC wrongly availed, or erroneous refund, they will go ahead with section 73 or 74 and demand and recover tax from you. Next, special audit. Understand, my dear friends, here while at the stage of scrutiny, investigation, or any other proceedings, if the assistant commissioner feels that there is complexity in the nature of transactions and that complexity is actually leading to evasion of tax, and here the interest of revenue is clearly compromised, then he shall go to commissioner, take approval of his, and ask a chartered accountant or a CMA to audit the books of accounts of that registered person, of whose expense will be borne by the commissioner himself. How long will that go? 90 days. Is there any extension? Yes, again 90 days, right? This is just repeated once again. And at the conclusion, if they find that there is a detection of tax not paid, short paid, ITC wrongly availed or utilized, and erroneous refund, go ahead and proceed as per section 73 and 74. Demand and recover the tax amount. That is audit for you, my dear friends. Correct. Okay. Why to leave such easy topics when you can easily do it? Correct. Yes. Okay. Done. And the last thing that we are supposed to do is liability in special cases. पूरा एक page में उड़ा दिया यार. In one page it is over, friends. Yes, Ronak. Yes. Absolutely yes. Okay. So my dear friends. Okay. Now comes liability in special cases. Understand. Liability in case of transfer of business. Let's quickly do this. Okay. Liability in special cases. Very simple, my dear friends. Understand, there is a transferor, there is a transferee, there is a transferor, there is a transferee. Transferor actually transfers the business to the transferee, right? Understand, in that case, my dear friends, very simple, that up to the date of transfer, the transferor and transferee both are jointly and severally liable for the tax, interest, penalty, late fee liability. But post the date of transfer, obviously it's the transferee who is liable. Are you getting it? Yes. Okay. A and B both jointly and severally, and after 1/4 it is only B. Next, my dear friends, 86. When it comes to principal and agent, understand, my dear friends, both are jointly and severally liable. Please remember that. Section 87, amalgamation. Okay. Now, the date when the amalgamation order is passed was 110, but the effective order was 1/4. Question here arised that, okay, B and C have got amalgamated into BC Limited. So the order is passed here, but the effect of the order starts from 1/4. Now the point of conflict is that there were few transactions where B Limited supplied goods to C and C did to B. What about that? What about that? Government says, then in that case, understand all those transactions which were done from the effective date of order up to the date when the order is passed, right, between these dates, all the transactions made by B to C or C to D, C to B, B to C or C to B will be included in their respective liabilities. Because from this period to this period, understand, both shall be considered as distinct person and both their liabilities will also be calculated separately. Is that very clear? Yes. There is no confusion on that part. Please remember. Okay. Next. Okay. So when it comes to section 88, liquidation of company, understand the first thing that the liquidator will do is very simple. It shall intimate, okay, to the commissioner within 30 days of its amendment that, listen, I am the liquidator of this company. Tell me how much am I supposed to provide for the tax, interest, penalty, liability for obviously the company that is getting liquidated. Commissioner will then do inquiry, call for information, and within 3 months, okay, please jot down 3 months, very important information, okay, from the date of receipt of intimation of liquidator, he shall tell about the funds, tell about the amount, communicate about the amount to the liquidator that needs to be paid with respect to tax, interest, penalty, okay, to the GST department. Now when it comes to private companies, it's very important for you to understand, my dear friends, if the tax, interest, penalty cannot be recovered from the company, every director during the period shall be jointly and severally liable to pay the tax. Perfect. Next, partnership firm, very important, my dear friends. Understand, when it comes to partnership firm, if any partner has got retired, it's very important to understand that he informs or the firm informs, he informs or the firm informs about his retirement to the commissioner. Got it? Within 1 month from his retirement. So within 1 month from his retirement, it's very important that, correct, the commissioner is informed. Either the firm does it or either the partner does it, right? So if let's say he retires on 1/4, you need to inform by 1/5, because if you inform by 1/5, the partner who retires, his liability will be now restricted only up to 1/4. But let's say he, rather than informing on 1/5, informs on 1/5, not 20 but 21, that is after 1 year. 1 year. Then in that case, it will be extended to this date. Yes, unfortunately, the date when he intimates the commissioner. Are you getting it, my dear friends? Yes. But if you inform within 1 month, the date of retirement is the date when his liability stops. But if he extends, then it will be extended to that day when he intimates. Okay, so make sure that you do that. Okay, with respect to private company, my dear friends, understand that if there is any tax, interest, penalty with respect to the private company, if the private company cannot pay, it will fall in the hands of directors jointly and severally. Very simple. Very simple. But understand, my dear friends, there is an angle to it. If this private company converts into a public company, if this private company converts into a public company, right, then you cannot take that money from the directors. You cannot make the directors jointly and severally liable. No. So if you really want to recover that money, make sure that the private company which has, raised their hand saying that I cannot pay, you go fast and collect that money from directors before that private company becomes public limited. Because once it is done, you cannot take any money from the directors. Right? Correct. So this is what I mean, from 1/4/2020 to 1/4/2021. Now, up to this date, you can recover it from the directors. But after this date, right, after this date, okay, directors cannot be held liable. Directors cannot be held liable. Is that very clear, my dear friends? Yes, sir. ठीक है. Next, section 91, minor and guardian. Understand that the business is actually carried out by the trustee on behalf of minor, right? So it is the trustee who will pay tax on behalf of minor. Till what extent? Till the extent that minor becomes major, right? And once he becomes major, he will start paying taxes. Got it? Okay. And yeah, where any estate is under control of courts or wards or admin, general, official, trustee or manager, then obviously these trusted people are the people from whom the tax will be collected. And understand that they will never pay tax from their own pocket. For example, understand that if Mukesh Ambani and Anil Ambani are fighting for a land of Dhirubhai Ambani, wo bol raha mera, ye bol raha mera hai, and the court puts a stay order, but that land is already given on rent to, let's say, L&T. Now the rent is being collected from L&T, yes. Now we don't know whom to give that rent, so the court appoints an administrator, saying, administrator, you collect the rent. And obviously if that is a commercial property, the rent will be charged with GST. So the administrator will collect rent from L&T along with GST and then pay it to government. So whom are we collecting the GST from? Administrator. That's how he will not pay it from his own pocket, obviously. And the last is, my dear friends, section 93, deceased person. So understand, if a person is liable to pay tax, interest, penalty, dies, he dies. Now there are two aspects. If his legal representative continues the business, if the legal representative continues the business, then the tax, interest, penalty, liability will be recovered from the legal representative fully. But if he decides to discontinue the business, right, then the amount that can be recovered from that legal representative will be only to that extent to which the estate has got transferred. So if the estate that has got transferred is 10 lakhs, but the liability is 50 lakhs, it will be settled in 10 lakhs, period. Okay, so it's rather than the good idea will be to not continue the business. Okay, that's it. So here, my dear friends, okay, we take care of the entire case with respect to liability to pay in certain cases. There are a couple of cases here and there more. Let me just read them. For example, in case of HUF, if HUF cannot pay, obviously Karta and co-partners will have to pay jointly and severally. And the last is when the partnership firm cannot pay, it will be the partners, okay, between whom it will be severally and jointly. They will be made liable severally and jointly, right? So that's it, my dear friends. I guess in here I feel the most important part is with respect to amalgamation, liquidation and partnership firm. These are really important cases, and also private company, especially that private to public wala transfer. That is very important because there is a scope in which things can be asked, because there are statistics involved in that case and there is a concept involved in that case, correct? So I don't know why do people leave, but it's like it just gets wrapped up like this in 5-10 minutes, and that is clearly the duration that we've had. Like it's 50 minutes now. So maybe I have explained every bit of a thing, right? So I hope, my dear friends, things are pretty clear out here, and you'll have understood all the three aspects with respect to advance audit, liability in special cases, right, and assessment. There's audit, there is assessment, there is liability in certain cases, and the last thing that we are actually supposed to do, I'm so sorry, was advance rulings. Okay, we will just wrap it up in 10 minutes. आ जाओ फटाफट से. So understand, if I start my business, understand Heath, if I start my business, okay, or for that matter, if I am already a registered person, I have different businesses, right? And as a registered person, I'm starting my business. So either as an unregistered person or registered person, either I'm starting my business, or for that matter, okay, I need clarity before starting my business that the goods or services that I'm going to start supplying, what is the rate applicable to that? Or for that matter, do I need registration or not? Right? Is it even regarded as a supply or not? What is the classification? Is it 12, 18, 15, 12, 18 exempted, 28 what? What is the value of supply? What is the time of supply? All of these questions, right? So if I have array of questions out here which are the eligible questions, except the question called as what is the place of supply. So except place of supply, if I have any of these questions, I can file an application to advance rulings, where in advance, before I start my business, I will be guided by this authority as to what sections are applicable to me, and I will actually get the right answers of my questions. That will give me a great clarity in starting my business, because now I know that with respect to compliance part, I'm sorted, because it's a ARA, Advanced Rulings Authority, that has actually given me the right decision. Got it? So I will go and apply to Advanced Rulings Authority, Authority of Advanced Rulings, whatever you want to call, which obviously has one member from CGST, one from SGST. And as soon as they see that I have, and as soon as they see that they have got an application from an applicant, they will directly ask the concerned officer of his jurisdiction to do some tahqiqat. Tahqiqat is to do some investigation. And generally, what is the investigation regarding? It is generally regarding the fact that has he already challenged the matter in judiciary or not? Is this matter already going in appellate authority, tribunal, high court, supreme court? If yes, then his application will be rejected. Because you cannot be fighting in judiciary and in ARA both. No. So if the matter is either pending or decided in any proceedings, your application in ARA will clearly be rejected. Simple. And that's the only ground. Second, if it is not, then it will be accepted. And the decision of ARA will be within 90 days. There is no extension to that. Within 90 days, aa hi jayega. So and it's even faster, because they understand that you are actually not starting your business because you are waiting for this clarity. Once you have this clarity, you will start your business, right? That's how it is. Now, understand that it's very important to understand that as soon as the Advanced Rulings Authority give their decision, okay, it is binding on the applicant, okay, and not on any similar taxable person in that state. Understand? So if I am selling goods X and Heath is also selling goods X, understand, the decision will be only applicable to me. Even though Heath is selling the same goods, doesn't matter. It is the law that is applicable to individual and not to a state or nation, right? Correct. And there is no change in law and facts on the basis of which AR has been pronounced. Okay. So it will be binding till there is no change in any law or facts on the basis of which advanced rulings has been, okay, pronounced. Is that very clear? Yes. Okay. That's it, my dear friends. That's it. Okay. Correct. So understand that unless there is any change, it will be binding. Okay. Perfect. Can the decision of ARA be considered void ab initio? Yes. it will be declared void ab initio if it is found that the facts on the basis of which the order was passed, the fact on the basis of which the order was passed was actually obtained by the way of fraud or misrepresentation. Simple. Can it be rectified? Yes. If there is any error apparent on the face of the record in the order passed by ARA, okay, or for that matter, okay, appellate authority for advance rulings, that is AAAR, okay, which is either noticed by them, okay, or the concerned officer or the jurisdictional officer, then rectification can be done within 6 months from the date of order. So remember this, it can be rectified within 6 months from the date of order. Also understand that there is one simple possibility, that if I have applied for an advance rulings in advance rulings authority or authority for advance rulings, whatever you want to call, and understand there are 2 judges out here, CGST, SGST, and one says yes, one says no. So the entire matter is that whether it is subject to 18% or 28%. One says 18, one says 28, right? The question, let's say for example, is whether the service is taxable or exempt. One says exempt, one says taxable. Now what to do? Then you will go and approach AAAR authority, appellate authority for advance rulings. Now whatever decision they will give, it will be final. And within how much time will they give? Again within 90 days. Again within 90 days from the date of reference by ARA to AAAR. Correct? And whatever they say is final. Now the issue is that, okay, even they have 2 judges. So if there is any indecision out here, if there is any stalemate out here, and it ends there, there is no advance rulings. Samjha? Huh. Okay. So one is definitely, my dear friends, okay, that there is a difference of opinion in advance rulings authority, or for that matter, the applicant or the department, right, is aggrieved by the decision of ARA. Then they can go with AAA. So when will I come here? 2 reasons. When will I come here? 2 reasons. One, when there is a difference of opinion, and second, when I for example, I am an applicant and I am aggrieved, or for that matter, I was the applicant and the decision was in my favor and department is aggrieved now. So they will refer to AAAR, and in that case, the decision will be given within 90 days. And if there is a difference of opinion here, then no advance rulings will be given whatsoever. So here generally the questions that come out here is with respect to the eligible questions. So this is a question that is asked: void ab initio, rectification, 90 days, and this one, which are the matters that are referred to AAAR. So there are 2 matters referred. One is the difference of opinion in AAR, and one is when you are aggrieved by the decision of AAR. Very simple, that's it. So that is what, my dear friends, is with respect to advance rulings. I hope that made sense, and I hope I have made the most of your time, right, by completing 4 topics: audit, assessment, liability in special cases, and advance rulings in less than 45 minutes, right? That's it, my dear friends. I hope I've made the most of your time. All the very best. And if you genuinely find that there was value in the content that I was providing and the notes that I have provided, right, and really the notes are actually helping you remember things fast, please comment in the comment section and refer it to your friends. Thank you. All the very best. Please make sure that every morning you get up, you tell to yourself that I have passed this attempt. I have passed this attempt. I have passed this attempt. I have passed in this attempt. Okay, thank you my dear friends, lots of love, lots of support, all the very best.